All right, I'm talking about the kind of season that makes you double-check the locks, crank up the thermostat, and ask yourself, what on earth is about to come falling out of the sky? This year, the atmosphere is acting like it's had one too many cups of coffee. Restless, volatile, unpredictable. We're staring down the possibility of polar vortex breakdowns, bone-shattering Arctic blasts, city-shutting snowstorms, and even severe weather outbreaks at the exact moment you least expect them. And here's the kicker. The stage is already set for a winter that could turn everything upside down. Forget the quiet, mellow winters we've been getting used to. This year, the atmosphere is loaded with energy, like it's itching to swing back and forth between extremes. And to understand why, we've got to zoom way out, across the Pacific Ocean, where the water itself is basically writing the script for what happens here in the U.S. That's where our big player enters, the El Niño Southern Oscillation. Or as I like to call it, the atmosphere's master switch. Now, Enzo has 3 moods, 3 personalities, and trust me, each one completely rewrites the story of winter. El Niño is the warm phase. When Pacific waters heat up, the southern jet stream powers up, and storm after storm just slams into the southern U.S. flooding rains from California all the way to the Gulf, while the north often gets left high and dry, with milder temps and fewer cold blasts. Then you've got La Niña, the opposite side of the coin. Cold Pacific waters shove the jet north, and suddenly the northern states are buried in snow while the south gets left with more warmth and dryness. And here's the thing about La Niña. It loves to throw open the gates of the Arctic, letting brutal cold air come tearing out of Canada and punching the Midwest and Northeast right in the gut. But this year, neither El Niño nor La Niña is really running the show. We're sitting in that dangerous middle ground, neutral conditions with just the slightest lean toward La Niña. And neutral years? Those are the wild cards. 1 week, you're firing up the snowblower. The next, you're grilling in the backyard in a hoodie. It's mood swings. It's chaos. It's the potential for monster storm systems that just come out of nowhere. The last time we saw something like this, winter of 2013 into 2014. And if you lived through that one, you know exactly why I've got goosebumps right now. That winter was relentless. Blast after blast of Arctic air. Cold fronts slicing south like knives. Wind chills that made you feel like your eyelashes could freeze solid. Snowstorms stacking up across the Midwest and Northeast like Mother Nature had it out for us. I'll never forget it. It felt like the polar vortex had unpacked its bags and decided to stick around for months. And here's where it gets eerie. Back in 2013, hurricane season was strangely quiet. Not a single storm hit the U.S. sound familiar? Because here we are in 2025, and we've had almost the exact same setup. A weak, suppressed hurricane season thanks to strong wind shear and unfavorable steering currents in the Atlantic. The similarities to 2013 are impossible to ignore, and that's why I'm watching this winter like a hawk. So let me lay out what I think is coming. Northern Plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley. You guys better get ready. I'm talking below average. Temperatures locking in, cold fronts rolling through like clockwork, week after week. The Dakotas, the Great Lakes, the heart of the Midwest. This could rival, maybe even outdo 2013. And the coverage area? Potentially bigger this time around. Meanwhile, the South and West Coast are leaning warmer and drier, Florida included. But don't let that trick you into thinking snow can't show up. All it takes is one rogue storm system colliding with just the right setup, and suddenly snowflakes are falling in places that haven't seen them in years. Now here's the twist. Precipitation. In 2025, I think the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast are in for more rain and snow compared to 2013. That's a recipe for messy ice storms, blockbuster snows, and some old-school nor'easters taking aim at big population centers. Meanwhile, the Gulf Coast and West Coast, likely drier, which could worsen drought in spots. And I can't stress this enough. Don't sleep on severe weather. People forget that late fall into early winter is what we call the second tornado season. And when you've got Gulf moisture clashing with an active jet stream, that's fuel for violent outbreaks. Remember November 17th, 2013. 73 tornadoes in one day, entire communities shredded in hours. With this year looking eerily similar, I can't rule out another dangerous round. So here's the battleground as I see it. Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley. Ice storms, snow events, maybe even severe weather outbreaks. The Northeast. Nor'easters are back on the table. Texas, Oklahoma, Kentucky. Don't be surprised if you wake up to a surprise snowfall before the year is out. All right, now let's talk layers. Because a snowfall forecast map isn't flat. It's a story. And every story starts with a baseline. We kick off in the no-snow zone. Yes, it's a thing. Deep South Florida, Southern Texas, Southwest California, places where snow is basically a myth. People there can live their whole lives without ever once feeling that hush of a snowstorm at home. Sure, once in a century, you might see a dusting, and the whole region loses its mind. But for most folks in that zone, snow is something you travel to, not something that comes to you. But take a step north, and the color changes. This is the trace to 3-inch zone, the fringe land. Some winters you'll wake up to a light coating and feel like you're in a Hallmark movie. Other winters, nothing. It's a coin flip every couple of years, and the closer you are to the edge of the map, the better your odds. Now push further north, and the story starts picking up weight. The 3 to 6 inch band. This is where winter shows up. Maybe not with a vengeance, but enough to remind you it's still in charge. A couple of shovelable storms each season. Nothing historic, but enough to ice your windshield and cancel a school day or two. Then we cross the line into the 6 to 12 inch zone. Here, winter doesn't ask permission. It shows up every year, guaranteed. The bands get tighter, the snow gets heavier, and every season feels like it's just waiting for the next one to roll in. But from here, the numbers start climbing, and the stakes get serious. 12 to 24. 24 to 36. These aren't just snows. These are seasons built around snow. If you're in the Midwest, the interior Northeast, the northern plains, you know what I'm talking about. Snowstorms aren't an if here, they're a when. Whole communities plan their lives around it, and if you keep climbing, you hit the monster zones, 36 to 48 inches. The Snow Belt champions. Upper Midwest, Great Lakes, New England mountains. These are places where people measure winter in feet, not inches. Snow days aren't special, they're routine. Then we layer in the 48 to 72 range. That's extreme winter country. High Rockies, Sierra Nevada, Cascades, plus the lake effect zones of Michigan, Wisconsin, upstate New York. Here, snow isn't just weather, it's economy, it's culture, it's identity. And finally, the big one. The 72-inch plus club. The red zone monsters. These are the towns and mountains where snow never stops. Dig out from one storm, and before you've caught your breath, the next one is on your doorstep. That's the baseline. The climatology. But here's the part you came for. The twist, because averages are safe. This year, it's not going to be safe. I call this the snowfall chance forecast, and it takes the averages you just saw and collides them with the actual patterns we're seeing unfold right now for winter 2025-26. This is where things get exciting. Here's the deal. You can have below average temperatures and still walk away with barely any snow. You can have above average moisture and still miss every storm. Timing is everything. Storm tracks are everything. That's what makes winter messy, unpredictable, thrilling. And right now, the setup is telling me two very different stories, depending on where you live.